Alright YouTube, it's been a long time since I made a video that's sort of more about me as opposed to, well, here's this grimoire, here, this is my opinion about politics. Mostly, like 99% of the stuff on this channel is meant to be educational, or it's meant to be analytic. And I think sometimes people want to know a little bit more. Like, people begged me for a while for, like, my movies video, the movies that I liked, music that I like. I don't like doing, like, ask me anything sort of stuff, although I was on, like, 4chan on Politically Incorrect, and I said, you know, fuck it, when I was asked for proof that it was actually me posting. That was a fun time, honestly, for about half an hour, but generally I don't really talk about myself here. So here are 5 strange facts about me, spurred on by I was having a conversation involving vegan sushi, and it includes cucumber. I can't eat cucumber, and so this gave me the idea for this video, so it'll be pretty funny. Number 1, I'm selectively left-handed, which may be a little bit odd to people. Well, how can you be, you're either right or left-handed or ambidextrous? No, I'm selectively left-handed, as in I'm right-handed, officially speaking. I do like 99% of everything with my right hand. But I shoot a bow left-handed, and I strum a guitar left-handed. I don't know why. I can't really play a guitar, but if I'm strumming it, if I try to handle it in the normal way, it feels odd. Like my hands don't quite work right, and if I, you know, put it on its side and then start playing it as though I was left-handed, it feels natural to me. The same with the bow, which, I mean, it's a little bit of an impediment because, of course, with the bow, right-handed as it is, using the little knock to make sure that the arrow doesn't, you know, slice into your finger could be a little bit of a challenge if the bow is right-handed and you're holding it as though you were left-handed. But I can't even, like, maneuver it or aim if I'm holding it right-handed. It just doesn't feel right to me. It's not some, you know, primitive bow that's just literally a piece of wood with a string attached, you know, a compound bow. And so technically it's got sides as opposed to the older style. I should probably get like a cheaper, like an older style wooden bow if I'm going to do that, because then it doesn't matter which hand really you're holding it in, and figure something out about that. I also use a fork and knife left-handed, which is a little bit freaky. And it also was a little bit freaky to my parents when I was younger. They got used to it over time, of course. Number 2, I'm mildly allergic to cucumbers. They give me indigestion. I don't like the way that they taste, and they just make me feel weird, in the same way that shrimp does. Now, I like shrimp. It's alright, but I don't eat it, because I'm afraid I'm going to go into like anaphylactic shock or something at some random time. Like some people, they have some spontaneous allergic reaction after years of not reacting to something. And the fact that my lips tingle a little bit after I eat shrimp tells me it's probably not the best of ideas to be, you know, tempting fate. I mean, I'm not a big shrimp fan. I prefer calamari. If I had that reaction to calamari, I'd still eat it, trust me. Or scallops. Scallops are really good. Or many kinds of sushi, eel especially. I wouldn't even care. I'd keep eating it. But with shrimp, it's like, yeah, I can sacrifice that for my health. And cucumbers, it's even easier because I don't even like the way they taste. Now, soak them in vinegar and they're amazing. Turn them into pickles and I'll eat entire jars full. The best use of pickles, by the way, and this could almost count as a weird thing because it's one of my favorite things to eat. Toasted tuna sandwich drenched in sweet pickle juice. It doesn't matter if it's the bread and butter or like the standard sweet sandwich pickles. They do taste slightly different. Doesn't matter which one. Trust me. Just try it sometime. Make a toasted tuna sandwich. You know, lots of mayo in the tuna, of course. You know, celery's optional, although it is tasty in tuna, really. Slap it on that bread, and then just, you know, just drizzle it all over the tuna until it's like dripping over the sides, and then put some whole sweet pickles in there. Just try it. Oh, it's absolutely heavenly. I hadn't had a toasted tuna sandwich with sweet pickles in like 3 years. I got a really bad craving for it, so I whipped up some tuna and made one. And it was like almost a mouth orgasm because it was so amazing. But I can't eat cucumbers. Even the smell is like repulsive to me. I smell cucumber. If it's just a very small amount, I can handle it. But if I smell like an actual like sliced cucumber, it just makes my stomach turn, and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. All it is basically water, but it just does it to me. Number 3, streetlight interference phenomena is very prevalent with me. And also traffic light interference phenomena, which I don't even know is a thing. When I get near street lamps, whether I'm driving or walking or whatever, they have a tendency to randomly blink out. They also sometimes randomly come on in my presence, including in the middle of the day when they're not supposed to be on, and they go off at night when they're not supposed to go off. And traffic lights skip random turns around me, and this happens quite frequently, far more than I would generally chalk up to a coincidence. You know, if it happened that often, and a person was self-aware at all, you'd think that there would be quite a few people, like millions of people saying, oh yeah, it happens to me all the time. Instead, it's just this really small fringe group of people, maybe a few tens of thousands of people, who have ever claimed that this happens to them. It happens to me constantly. Almost any time I go out driving, street lights just randomly flicker out when I'm driving under them. If I go out for a walk at night, I expect a couple of lights to do this, honestly. It's very strange. I have no real explanation for it. Now, I don't believe, oh, well, I'm, magical hoodoo powers, they're being, like, cursed or something. I don't believe in that, but it might be some sort of weird electrical phenomena. Who knows? I know that some people, they can't wear a wind-up watch because their body stops it. It has something to do with, like, blood pressure or something like that, and then if they wear an electronic watch, it like automatically recharges basically forever or something. There's just some weird stuff in this world that don't necessarily have the ability to fully explain it. Number 4, I was once expelled from school despite having straight A's, in the 5th grade specifically. It was behavioral. In the 5th grade especially, I was always a bad kid, behavior-wise, until high school, and then I evened out and I had no real problems at all. Like, high school was great compared to elementary and middle school. You should have seen what happened in 6th grade. It was great. I showed up dressed as Hitler one time just to piss people off. Then I got home and, of course, the clothes got ripped up and destroyed because my parents had explicitly told me, don't dress up as Hitler and go to school. Where do you think I got the idea from? But in 5th grade, it was funny. There was a time there for several months. What happened is I would get bored. And when I got bored, I would start acting out because I had, like, raging ADHD. And they didn't, of course, give a fuck about this. They wanted to integrate me into being in a normal classroom or some bullshit like that. Instead of having me in the sped shed or something like that. I guess because my grades were high or some bullshit like that. That didn't work too well because they'd give us this work. It was like this brain-dead shit that was actually, well behind what I had gotten used to studying things largely on my own. I'm sitting there reading about, like, Greek mythology and stuff. I'm sitting there, like, 2nd grade reading about this stuff. Reading, like, all sorts of classics and so forth. Reading Grapes of Wrath or whatever. Everyone else is still reading, like, Berenstain Bears. So I had tremendous problems with coping with that because unless I was in science class and then I could go, like, I could look at the bugs or I could look at the plants or something like that, then it was fine. Or, fiddle around with the microscope because the teacher let me do that in elementary school because he knew I knew what I was doing because I had my own microscope at home. I used to, like, literally prick my hand and put, like, blood on the slide just to look at my hemoglobin. It was a pretty good microscope too. I wish it still worked. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It's like 2 decades old. But I had constant problems with behavior. I took, like, paper, and I would cut it up into sections. Usually a piece of printer paper, I'd cut it into 9 pieces, sort of trading card sized. And I would draw these primitive-looking, honestly, my artistic skills aren't, they're okay, but they're not great as far as human figures, certainly. I'd draw these, like, really warped, twisted people on there, and I'd give them names like Ranting Raoul and Crazy Chris and Demented Dwayne and stuff like that. And then on the back of the cards, it would have, like, facts about their various mental breakdowns and lunacy and hallucinating and stuff. And I would randomly go around the classroom. I would literally, like, push my chair around just with my legs. And I'd sit there going slack and making faces and weird noises while people were trying to work. And they tried their best to ignore me, the teachers did. But after a while, it was like, well, we can't handle this anymore. He's got to go. And I would randomly hand these, I called them mad cards, because there's, like, mad people. I would randomly hand them out to other students, and then I'd start, like, launching off into these rants about about how crazy these people were. You see, I'm, like, uncontrollably smiling here just thinking about it because it was so absolutely hilarious to me. and I'd randomly burst out laughing in class. Like, something would be said that was vaguely sexual innuendo or vaguely had something to do with insanity, and I just found it was too much for me. I couldn't bite my tongue. I just burst out laughing uncontrollably. And problems mounted, of course. Some of the other students had tried their best to just leave me alone. They knew I was like nuts or something. Others tried to antagonize me, which wasn't a great idea, because then I'd get into verbal squabbles with them. It was just a bunch of bullcrap. But anyway, I ended up getting expelled towards the end of 5th grade. I had to repeat the 5th grade when I moved over to a different school that I was going to be going to anyway. Finishing out there, I actually got expelled. I had to write like the apology letter. And this despite the fact that if I had just been given, perhaps work a couple grades ahead of what other people were getting, or if people had tried to be a little bit more knowledgeable about the fact that I needed more mental stimulation and I probably shouldn't be expected to sit there for 20 minutes doing anything, there probably wouldn't have been any problem at all. Unfortunately, they decided, oh, well, fuck it, give him the normal work. Not a great idea. It didn't work out well for them in the end. Now, when I got to high school, when you get to choose, oh yeah, I want, I want to be in honors science, I want to be in like college prep and stuff like that, no more problems, because I was more mentally stimulated. Sometimes, some classes I'd still get bored, but, people treated me with more respect there anyway, because they didn't realize I had been, like, expelled and had all these behavioral issues. And once they treated me like a normal person, I no longer had any problems, because I didn't feel demeaned by the so-called authority figures around me, and I wasn't being bored more than half the day. So it's like, oh, no, this is pretty cool. I think I won't act up. I still found, like, death and lunacy funny, and I still do, by the way. I get, I'm sitting here like laughing my ass off sometimes when I see things that normal people would find a little bit grotesque. What do you think? Why do you think I'm writing like sickness and hell and morbid stories? I find these things to be comedies. To me, they're not really even horror. They're funny. They're entertaining in a funny way. And number 5, and this is probably slightly embarrassing, although not really, because what the fuck use would I have for knowing this particular skill? I don't know how to ride a bike. I never learned. I never could get the knack of it. I'd get on the bike and it'd just tip over, and after a while I was like, well, what the hell is the point of this? Spend 30 minutes getting on it to go 10 feet. Fuck it. And then I just never tried again, honestly. I had several bikes when I was a kid. I never really used them. One time I managed to get going, and then, it would tip over as soon as I tried to turn. I'm like, screw this. I can walk. Who cares? It's a bike. So I literally don't know how to ride a bike. Like, if you trotted out a bike, even if it's like perfectly proportioned, you're like, oh, hey, sticks, here, try to ride this. No, I'd just tip right over. It'd be pointless. I'll probably never learn. Maybe when I'm like 70 years old or something, I'll regret the fact that I can't ride a bike. I'll be like, I wish somebody had taught me the right way. And I'll like search around line high and low, and I'll find some Buddhist master in a cave somewhere after like a 5-year-long search who will tell me the secret of riding a bike. But until then, I'll just walk, honestly. I'm in good shape anyway, because I walk all over hell. I spend hours every day, unless it's the middle of winter, working outside anyway, clearing brush, mowing, doing whatever I'm doing. So it's not like I'm, incapable physically. I'm just not capable of figuring out in my mind how not to tip over in one of these things. And the fact that I don't have the confidence to do that means that, I'm going to keep my legs out at the side because, I know it's going to tip over, and it doesn't really matter, though. It's like cucumbers. I don't like eating cucumbers, so it's no loss that I can't really eat them. The concept of going on a bike ride doesn't appeal to me as much as a hike through the woods in places where you can't bike anyway. Going up steep hills and just randomly looking around for ferns and mushrooms and stuff. You can't take your bike there. You'd have to leave it at the bottom of the hill or drag it up or something. What's the fucking point? Even a mountain bike's not able to do everything. So yeah, those are 5 strange facts about me. Illuminating, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I am a little bit on the nutty side, and I openly admit that to people. I mean, I spend most of the day editing things that were written 500-600 years ago while growing my crops, and then I come here and talk about current events and stuff. But yeah, I was actually expelled, and I am, all these things are actually true. It's not like an attempt to freak anybody out. Just rather strange things. Yeah, maybe some of you have like strange things about yourself and post them in the comments or something. If they're not like something like, taboo or whatever, you don't want people knowing, that's okay. That's about all. Peace out.